Welcome back to Canadian Justice, where we're discussing recently announced changes to Canada's temporary foreign worker program by the federal government. Sergio, in the last segment, we were talking about the relaxation of the criteria to become eligible as a temporary foreign worker. It seems like the pendulum has swung back. The Trudeau government has now announced uh, rolling back of those relaxed criteria. What are the new changes that were just announced?
Well, the main change is the limitation on low skill workers because employers became reliant on low skill labor, and also the government understood, based on the evidence that it has collected, that there has been a tremendous amount of
Can
fraud by
you give me
employers.
an example of a job that might fit into that category, just so people have a clearer idea in their mind of what exactly we're talking about?
Well, for example, a typical job will be working in a fast food restaurant, cooking hamburgers or preparing food, etc. And employers have become reliant on those workers. And unfortunately, there has been a lot of fraud because a lot of unscrupulous and unlicensed individuals were counseling people overseas to come in under those programs, and also a lot of employers, unscrupulous employers, I should say, created jobs that really were not needed in order to accommodate those individuals, because those individuals overseas were paying 40, 50, $60,000, and then the fees would be split between the employer, the agent, and the person concerned, whose only objective was to come to Canada in order to obtain permanent residency.
Mhm.
So there's been a tremendous amount of abuse, and the government understood that. Also, the government doesn't want employers to be reliant solely on foreign labor, because that creates a foreign labor population that in many cases has no hope of becoming permanent residents, because they don't speak the official languages very well, they don't have the skills, and that creates a whole host of associated problems, that when their permits expire, these people tend to go underground and work illegally and
Yeah,
not
so
leave the country.
that's one of the things I'm kind of curious about. If sort of the goal of some people who come here under the temporary foreign worker program, if their goal might be permanent residency, is there actually even a path that exists there to achieve that?
Yes, of course. The goal is always invariably permanent residency for many of the of the individuals. Now, not all the temporary foreign workers are created equal. As I said, there are many, many, many people who come under various treaties, and they are really temporary. So, for example, I have lots and lots and lots of multinational companies as clients that bring in individuals for a very short period of time, for specific projects, in very highly skilled occupations in engineering, computer science, infrastructure, etc. But those people typically do not stay. They come in, they do their thing, and they leave. Now, in the low end, in the low skill program, that has been an issue, because most of these people come from countries that, what we used to call the third world, um, developing countries, and they want to stay, as we say, by hook or by crook. So they come in many times lured by the promises that are being made by unscrupulous agents. They come to Canada, and then they find the situation is very different. But then they themselves, they are looking for ways to remain in Canada through various subterfuges. For example, could be marrying Canadians, having babies, or negotiating with employers to commit fraud and misrepresent the type of occupations in which they are involved.
One of the things that has stood out to me is you've written a column where you say that these rollback changes are not going to be sufficient? Just in a few seconds, maybe you can give us a high level, and then we can talk about it more after the break.
Very simple. It's not sufficient because the number of postgraduate work permits is enormous. It's almost 1 million, and also the number of refugee claimants that is skyrocketing are also getting open work permits. So
Mm-hmm.
all those people are getting work
Let,
permits and they're
let's
clogging the system.
let's take a break, and we'll talk about it after.